Good morning, or afternoon now, I guess. You're listening to Sonatas and Soundscapes, your daily classical music show from South Carolina Public Radio. This program is made possible in part by the Paul M. Angel Family Foundation, and I am Kate McKinney, your host. I'm broadcasting live from the Wells Fargo studio here at South Carolina Public Radio, and I have two very special guests with me today. I'm joined by Teri Forscher-Milter and Marina Alexandra. Together they make up the Duo De Vista, a flute and guitar duo based in Colombia. So Marina and Teri, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. So I'm just curious to know, how did you two meet from the very beginning?
Well, let's see. I think I can take credit for finding Marina, actually.
Absolutely.
We met in 2011, and, looking back a moment, I would say my biggest joys have been in orchestral playing and chamber music. For several years, I had an orchestra career and really had this yearning to get back to collaborating, but in a smaller ensemble. At the time, I was quite focused on my teaching and had put my concert career kind of on hold to start a family, and we moved to Columbia in 2009, and as I was new in town, I wanted to, get back into performing a little bit more and was interested in creating a duo. I've played lots of chamber music over the years, but really never had the opportunity to collaborate heavily with a guitarist, and kind of felt like a little piece of my musical puzzle was missing. So I found out about Marina through a friend and professor at USC, and I contacted Marina to see if she had some interest in collaborating, and after a brief email exchange, we decided to meet in a restaurant and talk further. As a matter of fact, we met in a sushi place, and of course, this is how I found out that Marina's favorite food is sushi.
Well, I do remember we clicked immediately, and I think within 5 minutes, I invited you to a dinner party that I had the same night.
Yes, and then, of course, we started rehearsing, which was the real test of seeing if this was a go. And during our rehearsals, we discovered that, we valued the same music, and choosing our repertoire was pretty fun and easy. We also knew from the beginning, I think pretty early on, that our approaches to music were similar. Beauty and expression first, and, the rest later. I have to mention that rehearsals were not always the most productive in the beginning because we were talking and laughing at silly music stuff. But, of course, that's how we created our friendship, too. What I personally find quite interesting is that despite us having, pretty different personalities, I tend to think things through a lot, and Marina sort of likes to run through spontaneously.
Is it a compliment?
Yes. Most of the time we manage to sound as one. Even when we learn some new pieces, we might feel the tempos differently. Marina loves to go quicker than I do. So we often catch ourselves referring to the metronome that Marina secretly calls our marriage counselor.
Well, I just love that. So it sounds like it's a very fast friendship and a wonderful beginning to your work together as an ensemble. I'd love for the audience to hear a little bit of your work together. So we're going to move into a very fun piece. This is from a collection of mountain songs by Robert Beaser. This is a piece called Cindy. It's just a couple minutes long, but this is Duo De Vista. Enjoy. Just a really fun piece to kick off this hour. That it was a piece by Robert Beaser from his collection of mountain songs. That was Cindy. And we heard that performed by Duo De Vista. That's Teri Forscher-Milter on the flute and Marina Alexandra on the guitar. And I'm so lucky to have them both in the studio with me today. So thank you again for joining me. And I'm curious to know, sometimes collaborating with one other person can be very challenging. So what do you think makes a collaboration a successful one? And what sort of ingredients are necessary to produce a good music partnership, or what you guys called a musical marriage, if you will?
Well, I want to say that, I personally think that there are lots of stars that have to line up. And, some people might say, oh, well, how hard can this be? Just get a couple musicians together and play some notes. And, that definitely sounds like a good starting point. But I think it's also really crucial to like each other and liking each other as a human beings and everything that comes with this. We might not always like each other's outfits or hairstyles, but we truly do enjoy spending time together, talking about things not even relevant to music. I also would say that for a good and productive collaboration, we had to learn how to listen and, respect each other's point of view. And, of course, we do argue and things can get pretty heated. But we also learn how to resolve and talk things through, and which I guess just like you would do in any healthy relationship.
Sure. So there's definitely a healthy relationship romantically and with friends, but also as collaborators, in a musical ensemble. But now I'm curious to know how you all choose your repertoire. Who chooses it? How do you choose it, etc.?
It's really a creative process for both of us. And like any musician, we want to make sure what we're choosing to play is something that we will enjoy performing for a long time. And, because as you know, Kate, learning music can take weeks and hours of daily practice. So we are choosing our pieces quite carefully. Teri, do you want to add something on this?
Well, it's important to have a variety of contrasting styles, in our music to keep our different types of audiences engaged. We have lots of different audiences, from concert series to universities to schools to libraries. And it's crucial for us to know that people can relate to our programs. And we often find ourselves, tailoring our programs to our specific types of audiences. Just as important, as Marina mentioned, we program the music we feel strongly about, and we want our audience to be moved and feel inspired during our concerts. And I will tell you, it's quite uplifting to get emails and messages on Facebook following our concerts of fans describing, their wonderful experiences and getting to know us as performers. And it's that great response from the audience is just priceless for any artist.
Wonderful. Well, I think it's time for some more music right now. So we're going to move into a piece by Maximo Pujol. This is Dos Eres Condomberos. Enjoy it again, Duo De Vista, and they're joining me today in the studio, and just wonderful music. So again, music by Pujol. great and fun piece by Maximo Pujol. That was Dos Eres Condómberos, and we heard it performed by Duo De Vista. And I have this duo, this flute and guitar duo, in with me today. This is Teri Forscher-Milter and Marina Alexandra. So thanks again, both of you, for being here today. And I'm curious to know about you both as individuals. We've talked a bit about how you came together and got to be friends and professional partners. But Teri, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was introduced to the flute at around age 11 and became quite passionate pretty quickly about playing flute and being a musician. And one of my first memories of public performances was probably going around the neighborhood playing Happy Birthday for all the neighbors when I could learn that, and whether they were celebrating a birthday or not, of course. As most of the kids do, I played in band and had great private teachers who saw lots of potential in me and pushed me to reach my highest level of playing. And I grew up in Atlanta and, spent several years, just saturating myself with the opportunities there, as well as, youth orchestra. And one of my teachers convinced my parents to enable me to attend Interlochen Arts Academy, a prestigious boarding art school for talented artists. And the years after this, I attended the Cleveland Institute of Music and then went on to play with several American orchestras, including the Atlanta Symphony, the Cleveland Orchestra, the Knoxville Symphony, to name a few. And I guess I could say that one of my most memorable events in my life as a young adult was being awarded a Presidential Scholar in the Arts by Bill Clinton. And I was one of 5 nationally selected young musicians, so it was definitely a big deal for me.
I'm jealous.
And, from then on, lots of different chapters, but I'll talk about an important one. At the height of my orchestra career about 10 years ago, I developed a condition called focal dystonia, which is a neurological condition affecting the fine motor skills, which involves the misfiring, or in my case, overfiring of the nerves and muscles in my hand. Unfortunately, the condition often puts an end to a musician's concert career. It's one of the worst things you can get, really. Very few musicians really learn how to retrain their brains and fingers to be able to play again. But it is often, it's also a kind of a very slow and discouraging process of retraining. But focal dystonia is not a new condition. It's becoming more prevalent, though, in musicians over time, which correlates with, more hours and demands of playing. And by the way, it's, under that umbrella of repetitive motion injuries. So, of course, I wouldn't have this if I didn't play the flute. So the condition left me with really only 8 fully functioning fingers, really 7.5. But to make a long story short, I spent 3.5 years, of constant time looking for a cure, or at least a therapy that would help. So after, looking for doctors and therapies, I saw some wonderful doctors and therapists in San Francisco and, at the National Institutes of Health in Maryland. Unfortunately, nothing helped my particular case, but there is a great end to the story. I'm really, really lucky because I had my flute modified to be able to play again. And so my flute has custom modifications which were built with a specialist in Appleton, Wisconsin. I was living in Wisconsin at the time and traveled 3 hours up north to see the specialist. And it took 1 year to redesign my flute, my flute that I played for many years. And after this time, I was able to relearn to play. After several months, I could get a good grasp on playing, and I'm able to play, 99.9% of the repertoire with 2 less fingers. So if you look at my flute, you'll see it has 2 levers, which extend from the left hand to the right hand. So you'll see that I really operate quite a bit with my right hand index finger. to be able to hit all the notes. So I don't think, most people probably will never see a flute quite like mine, at least at this point. So
what an incredible story, Teri. Wow. Well,
Thank
we're certainly happy you're playing and so successful now, even after all that you've kind of undertaken. But we also mentioned in the break, just so our audience knows, in the last hour we were celebrating the life of Pierre Boulez, and you actually played under Boulez at Cleveland, which is incredible. And you mentioned that he did have a pleasant personality. Is that correct?
Very, very kind man, could kind of talk to anyone, very humorous, but very serious about his art. And of course, I was at the Cleveland Institute, and our orchestra took him very seriously and clapped when he walked on and off stage.
Of course,
So.
What a great opportunity. Well, thank you for sharing that wonderful story. Let's hear some music now again by Duo De Vista from this album. This is Jumeau Tango by Eric Marchery, and a really fun tango dance piece. So enjoy Duo De Vista, Jumeau Tango. a piece by French composer Eric Marchery. That's the Jumeau Tango. What a fun piece performed by Duo De Vista, and I'm joined today by Duo De Vista themselves. This is Teri Forscher-Milter, that was her on the flute, and Marina Alexandra. And thank you guys again so much for joining me for Sonatas and Soundscapes today. And we heard a little bit about you, Teri, in the last break, but Marina, I'm curious to know a little bit about yourself now and just how you came to play guitar and where you're from, where that beautiful accent is from, etc.
Thank you so much. Well, as you can tell from my accent, I'm very local. Well, I grew up in Ukraine, in Soviet Union back then, and my mother was very passionate about country-style music that we called bard music back in Soviet Union, and it was a sort of a movement of intellectuals who liked to pick up a guitar and compose songs. So it was really quite primitive way of playing an instrument, but she loved it, and she saw me singing a lot, and she thought it would be so great if I would pick up guitar and play a couple chords. And she took me to the school. We had this school of music for talented children. Guitar was incredibly popular instrument in Ukraine, and the government would sponsor those schools, so you end up only with really like 2 spots per year. So when we came to audition, I realized that I have to compete against other 20 kids to get to those 2 spots. And, I was very lucky to be accepted to that school, and the school offered really vigorous training in music theory, in secondary piano, solfeggio, history. So without even really knowing, I was pretty much on the track of becoming a professional musician. So I started at 6, and the next step usually is to go to the college. And again, you have to compete against multiple candidates to get in, because again, it's a government-sponsored school, and there is very limited spots available. So again, I was, very lucky to have a great teachers. I got in, and I completed my bachelor degree, and also had experience of conducting a folk instrument orchestra, and did my pedagogy degree, and of course secondary piano. And my next step was to get my master's at conservatory, and I got really excited. I got in. And then I actually got married, and I found out that my husband got a job in United States, and of course he wanted me to follow him. So I moved to United States in 1996, and I came, and I was kind of puzzled at first. What should I do? I wasn't sure if I can afford to continue my music education. And we actually were very committed to starting a family, so I had my first child pretty early. And then I met Christopher Burke, who's our local university guitar professor, and he highly encouraged me to audition, and I got pretty much a full ride. I was provided with assistantship and a fellowship. So my education was covered, and that enabled me to continue my education in the United States, and I'm definitely very grateful to our USC with providing me such an opportunity. So, after I graduated, I was trying to start several projects, and one of my projects is Southern Guitar Festival that I'm directing every June. And I hope that if we have listeners whose children are playing guitar or who are passionate about guitar music, that they would take an opportunity and advantage of such an event that is produced locally, and attend our events, which will feature internationally recognized musicians and some local celebrities. So I really hope people could come to those events.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about this album. So we've played selections from your one album. It's called Americas from North to South. So this is all Duo De Vista. a very eclectic mix of music too, from traditional tangos to mountain songs. So tell me a little bit about this album, and I understand you received a grant too as well. So tell me a little bit about just bringing this album together.
Sure. So pretty much after the first year of performing, we decided that we needed to record a joint disc together. And our audience members after our concerts would say, "Can we buy a disc?" They were just really interested. So of course the next question was how to make it financially possible, and that's when we applied for a grant through the South Carolina Arts Commission. And we were endlessly thankful for being awarded, and then of course spent 2-3 months recording and producing and
taking photos.
Yes, taking photos and preparing for the CD release. And the title, Americas from North to South, does explain that. Such a variety of music from North America all the way to South America. So there's just quite a lot of selections on the disc, which I think make it wonderful.
Fun.
Yes.
So I'm curious to know that. Thinking about it, I can only assume there aren't a ton of flute and guitar duos out there. How much rep is there out there for this type of ensemble? Are these a lot of arrangements, or are these written for your particular ensemble?
Great question. Actually, I wouldn't say there are a ton of flute and guitar duos. There are several. There's, in this country and abroad. All of these pieces, I believe, actually were written for flute and guitar, and there are hundreds and probably close to 1,000 pieces written for this combination. It's really quite vast. Yeah. So it's not that we're ever searching for the newest piece. It's right in front of us.
Wow, for some reason I would have assumed otherwise, but that's wonderful that you have such a wide variety of options then. Well, let's move into another selection. This is Bossa Nova, or Samba. This is by a composer Machado from his Musique Populaire Brésilienne. So enjoy, again, Bossa Nova, performed by Duo De Vista. Really nice piece by Kelso Machado. That was from his collection Musique Populaire Brésilienne. That was the Bossa Nova, the Samba, and that was performed by Duo De Vista, which is a flute and guitar duo. As you heard, this is Teri Forscher-Milter on the flute and Marina Alexandra on the guitar. And I've had the pleasure of having them join me in the studio this hour here on Sonatas and Soundscapes. So Teri and Marina, we've talked a lot about this album and just how you all met and how your personal upbringing, but talk to me about what's next for you both as a duo.
Well, we have a couple of performances scheduled. The one that is coming up in Columbia is on February 13th. It's a Saturday evening event, and it's a part of a big production, Guitar Gala fundraiser. And this is quite a unique event. It's combining a great dinner and a wonderful live music performed by one of our best South Carolina musicians. We're going to be playing alongside with such internationally recognized songwriter as Ayala Ashraf Kalos. She is originally from Israel, and we're just happy that she chose to live in South Carolina, in Charleston. So she will be coming with her band to perform her original works. And her performances are always packed. She's very popular musician. We're also going to be joined by Chris Teves, who's also coming from Charleston, and some other local guitarists who will be joining us. We're quite excited about this event because this event have been sold out 4 years in a row, and having a great audience is very important for all musicians.
Great. Well, it sounds like you guys have a wonderful upcoming season for both of you. We have a couple of minutes left in the hour, and I'd really like to play some more pieces from this album. So let's start with some Astor Piazzolla, because we haven't gotten to the man himself, Piazzolla. So we'll start with Cafe 1930 and move on from there. But again, this is Duo De Vista with Teri Forscher-Milter on the flute and Marina Alexandra on the guitar. was Cafe 1930 by the king of tango himself, Astor Piazzolla. We heard it performed by Duo De Vista, Teri Forscher-Milter on the flute, and Marina Alexandra on the guitar. And they have joined me in the studio for this hour of Sonatas and Soundscapes. Thanks again so much for joining me, both of you. We do have one more selection to end the show with, and I understand there is kind of an interesting story surrounding this piece, Tico Tico no Fuba. So Marina, tell me a little bit about this piece.
Well, most of guitarists probably familiar with this work. Somehow we happened to have this arrangement for solo guitar, and we were getting ready with Teri for one of our concerts. And after finishing rehearsing our program, I believe Teri said, "Marina, what are we playing for an encore?" And I believe this is pretty common among musicians. We focus so much on our program that we kind of forget that we might be called back on stage and perform an encore. So I remember I had this music on my music stand, and I said, Teri, well, look at this fun piece, Tika Tika. And I said, why won't you see if you can maybe pick and choose what high notes you would like to play, and see if we can make it work. And Teri actually loved the song, and she started improvising, which I understand was not something that she was trained to do necessarily, but she did such an amazing job. We both got super excited about playing this piece, and we performed it, and it was a huge success with our audience. So we actually kind of made it a routine. We do play this song quite often at the end of our concerts.
And I would say that, I think every time we play it, it's different. I keep changing it. So, and sometimes I definitely surprise Marina with my little cadenzas or whatever I throw in. So that's been fun.
Yes.
So what we'll be hearing is a Teri Marina super arrangement of this piece, essentially. Let's go move into it right now. This is Tico Tico no Fuba by Zakrina Abreu.